Okay, today I'm going to go over real quick how to replace a heater channel on a bug. I've actually never done one of these before, but it's really just the same as any other panel you replace. And I'm going to go over real quick the tools that you need to do the job. Number one, I would say some welding gloves and a torch or a plasma cutter, which I'm using a plasma cutter. Torches are too aggressive, and a lot of guys will say that you need to drill out all your welds, and I would say instead of doing that, cut below your weld end points here. Cut all the way along here, all the way along here, all the way around that. You're going to need to cut around this. So it's almost easier to use a torch. I'm going to use a propane torch and heat this up and get rid of this seam sealer there. So then you go around there and around here, and then you can cut on the inside. You can follow that top of that line, because what you're going to do is you're going to put a piece of patch panel in from here down to this corner right here, because usually it's all rusted here anyway. So you want to just go ahead and just replace the metal down to this corner, overlay it over the top. You don't need to butt weld it here. You want to make a piece about from right here down to there and place it all the way down anyway. So some guys are trying to cut it right at the right place or whatever. It's kind of pointless. Then come down and cut right here where it's overlaying. What you're going to do is, after you get the panel out, versus some guys are going ahead and drilling everything, to me that's just a waste of time. Just cut it around it first, and then take your panel cutter afterwards and then just peel off the old metal so that you have some nice surface to weld onto. And just so you know, if you buy one of these Clocker Home made in Denmark ones, better check where this thing's at. I had to take it off. It's supposed to be about right here, start right about here, and about 4 inches short on that end. So I'm gonna have to make a new carpet strip for it, or you could send it back and you probably get another one just like it. None of these parts fit very well. So once you get this up off the pan, you're going to have to just go ahead and, I'm going to cut this straight down right here and just remove as much of this piece as I can, and then after I get it off, then I'll clean the metal up so that the new one will go back on in the same place. Versus trying to drill every single one of these things out, you're just going to have a bunch of holes. Just cut above it like this and put a new piece of sheet metal above it. Weld it all the way to the corner here. A little filler on there. Nobody will ever notice. It'll look perfect, and it'll be stronger. So if you're trying to butt weld everything, you're taking the strength out of stuff. So it's better if you overlap weld when you can, especially when it's something like this, an inner fender weld. It's free game. You can bond this up or whatever, and it'd be fine. It's not gonna crack. You can worry about it. Just cover it in undercoating. Once you get everything cut away, then you're going to have to hammer it out. Find all the places that the metal's stuck and just remove it that way. And then once you get this all done, you just go ahead and clean up what you need. Yeah, I had a little rust hole here. A lot of guys would just go ahead and say, oh, I got to replace this whole thing. That's just ridiculous. There's a little rust hole here. You should be able to fix that without replacing this whole thing. Especially some of these guys, they're butt welding stuff and their strength. I mean, this is where the pure strength of the car is. To have a second layer of metal right here wouldn't hurt anybody. So what I'm probably going to do, because see, here's the panel, how it's attached behind here. Probably to make this a little bit easier, I'm just going to cut this way up here, cut up here, unweld all this here, and then peel this back, and then put the part in there and weld it from this side. It'll probably be stronger that way, and then I'll put a second layer of metal on the other side of the firewall just to strengthen it up, because you can't have it be too weak right here. This is a, you know, if you ever get in a wreck in one of these things and you don't do it the way I'm showing you with overlapping your metal, you know, I'll throw a flower on your gravestone. That's all I can tell you. It's not worth it. It's better to have it be strong and then have it, you know, have it look perfect. The other thing you don't always have to do with these is trim the metal a little bit, because it never fits right. Like this one, I've got to take off that little bit of a ear right there, just a little bit, trim it right there so it fits better, and then measure everything out. If you expect to buy one of these things and just have it just go right in, it's just not going to happen. And you know, if it was German, maybe it would work, but still, if you look at how these were built, this was one of the first parts made on the car, and then they stacked other metal on top of it. Like this portion right here, this quarter panel was put on after, so you're putting on something in a different order than it was put on originally. So you have to, it's a repair. It's not, you know, a perfect make it new thing. You know, it's a repair you're doing to an old car. So a lot of people try and think that this is some sort of special thing you have to do a certain way. You just do the best you can, and that's all there is to it. Okay, so here's what I ended up with. I put another layer of sheet metal over the other piece where the hole was, and I welded it on this side, and you can see right here I welded on the other side too. Then I put another piece of sheet metal in here, because you can't have too much metal, and put a new little patch panel down there. And this is all welded up, way around, welded up all the way around here. And then back here, what I did is right here where there's that lip, it's easier just to go ahead and cut that lip off and leave the old one here, and then weld to that. So it's spot welded all along there, spot welded along here, spot welded along the bottom, and then in the back I'm just going to put a little patch panel right here because there's a hole, and that shouldn't be there. If you have a hole there, then water's going to get in there and it's going to, you know, cause rust again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix that, put another piece on there, and then what I'll do is after I'm all done, I'll seam seal everything up after it's been primed, and then that's it done. It's all for structural, so nothing really cosmetic. On this here, I'm looking at mainly just the structure, and this is how this thing was. It was that far off the carpet strap, so I got to move it up here and put it back on. So anyway, that's pretty much all done, other than just the finish work. One more really quick trick is there's a lot of you guys who like to sand all this stuff. You know, I'm not really into sanding, so it's a lot of work to sand all your corners and edges, and you never seem to be able to get it sanded enough. And if you just leave this metal by itself, or this black here, if you leave that by itself, that primer does not protect the metal from rust. So you have to put some primer on it. Okay, so some paint on it. So what I do is I use this real quick. You don't have to sand anything. You put a dry coat of this on. I'll show you how much. You just you shoot it on about like this. That's it. Just that little tiny bit of mist. That's how you don't put any heavier than that. If you put any heavier than that, you'll have problems with it wrinkling and everything. But if you just shoot all your underneath with a dry coat of this stuff, then what you do, this dries almost instantly. Takes about 5 minutes or so, and then just at least spray can this. I mean, you should probably put a good coat on this. I mean, really, if you really are doing a nice car, you should take this off before you put it on. Sand it all down. Use some of this, but use real fine sandpaper. If you use like 120 or something like that, this will give you problems. Yeah, or just not even sand at all. Just put some of this on there and paint this prior to even starting to put it back on, because it should be painted underneath. But I just use this in a spray can, a couple coats of the spray can. That'll be fine.